What's going on, everybody? You are listening to SeeThroughPanel, a comic book discussion podcast. My name is Cole Harvey. I'm here with Fahed Rahman.
Merry Christmas, everyone.
Merry Christmas, guys.
And today we're going to be discussing work in progress's two anthologies, Success and Failure. Work in progress is a... Sorry about that. I've got the builders in. I just wait for them to finish drilling. Okay. So work in progress is a comic book community based in London, and they've produced two anthology projects this year on the themes of success and failure. And the work in progress comic community is comprised of professional and amateur comic book makers that are kind of trying to develop their craft. So, you know, the two anthologies were basically open to anyone who belongs to that community. Previously interviewed Joe Stone, who's one of the coordinators for it. So because it's an anthology, I think we decided to pick 2 or 3 stories from each anthology and then kind of review both books as a whole. So Cole, do you want to start off with your first choice?
Yeah. So we're doing the Success anthology first, I believe.
Yes. Yeah.
My absolute favorite, I would say it was my favorite from both of these, is Tales from the Teller of Terror.
Yes.
By Christopher Hazeldine. That was easily my favorite because it had that Tales from the Crypt, House of Horror host kind of thing going on, and it was very comedically done. So basically what we have here is so in the Success anthology, it's all about like different aspects of success. This one focuses on the negatives of success. It is a businessman who has a night before Christmas-esque dream about his brother dying and that he should all that his workers type rebelling, I guess. And basically it's just kind of a Tales from the Crypt type comedy horror thing where he becomes a zombie. And there's just a bunch of really funny lines. There's lines about everyone being a filthy communist, and stuff like that. And the ending punchline is really what sold it for me. Also, his art style I really loved. It really captures that Tales from the Crypt coloring. Even I really like the purples and the blues that they do really heavy. Yeah, his name was Christopher Hazeldine. He really impressed me, I think, with this because it's kind of got a different, the stories are pretty somber a lot of the time in these anthologies, which I liked, but this one was really kind of caught me off guard and made me laugh out loud, which none of the others did.
So that was actually one of my first choices as well. I think Christopher's art is fantastic. His dialogue is really witty and kind of the social commentary about capitalism and I just is a very much kind of a pitch perfect. I don't want to say parody, but a pitch perfect kind of version of Tales from the Crypt Keeper. And that was Tales from the Teller of Terror by Christopher Hazeldine. I think it's a really perfectly pitched parody of the Tales from the Crypt Keeper. So yeah, I very much agree with all the comments that you made on that. My next one is by Jess Hannah, and that is the story Second Fiddle, and it's autobiographical tale about when she kind of first learned how to play the violin, and how that opened up the world to her a little bit, but then she kind of through growing up and discovering other things and frustrations within the musical constraints that she felt at the time kind of gave it up. So I really enjoyed that. I was having a conversation with someone who recently, so I think during lockdown, a lot of people have taken up or rediscovered hobbies or activities that they did as a child, but for whatever reason, because they didn't have enough time and adult responsibilities, have given up, have kind of rediscovered those. So then I was having a discussion with someone who'd started playing the piano and tennis again after not doing either of those things for a really, really, really long time due to lockdown, giving them kind of the extra time. So that kind of, it just kind of hit home with me a little bit, and I enjoyed the kind of very, I want to say basic art style, but it's very clean, basic lines. Doesn't attempt to do anything too flashy with the coloring, and so just it hit home with me, and I quite enjoyed it.
I really like that one too. There was one with a kind of similar message that was I don't remember which anthology it was from, but it was basically talking about the quarantine has its ups and its downs, silver lining
Yes.
type stuff.
Yeah.
But this one I thought kind of sent that message a little stronger because it didn't directly reference the quarantine, but it kind of referenced picking up those old hobbies and doing things you used to love to do, which I think we've all been doing yet. Like that's even how we started the podcast. It was right
Yeah.
when quarantine hit. So
Yeah.
yeah, I really enjoyed that. My next favorite, I'd have to give it to Joe Stone, just off sheer,
Yes.
off the
Yeah.
sheer art, man.
Yeah.
Uh, it might not be like the deepest one and have all this emotional impact, but it's really cool to look at, and I like the idea behind it. So it's essentially Joe Stone drawing in his usual style as himself, thinking about what he should do for the anthology, and he goes through all these art styles. He goes through like Kirby, Charles Burns, Mignola, Frank Miller, Liefeld, Urasawa. He does all of these
Yeah.
styles. He does a Scott Pilgrim type style, Astro Boy. God, he does everything. And
Yeah. Yeah.
I just was having tons of fun looking at him and trying to figure out who was what.
Yeah.
And it was honestly really impressive because I didn't think that he could do all that. Like they're each very excellent. Like
Yeah.
is Charles Burns kind of realistic? Is amazing. I didn't know he could do all that. So
Yeah. I think
not a ton to talk about, but it's so impressive.
it's not like the deepest of the stories here, including the anthology, but it's a lot of fun. It's quite enjoyable. Again, that's another one that was on my list, and like you, I had a lot of fun trying to figure out which artist that he's kind of referencing in each one of his style. And you can kind of tell this is a strip that he probably had a great deal of fun doing as well. I especially kind of enjoy his Rob Liefeld to pictorial representation of like Captain America. So that's, I think, one of my favorite ones there. So my next one, because I think you've chosen my next one, was actually going to be Creative Block by Joe Stone, but my next one, apart from that, was the Sam Whitehall comic, which I don't think is been titled. It's about his teddy bear Rufus, or the main character's teddy bear Rufus. I felt it was kind of like dryly funny in that sort of like British sense of humor type way. I'm not entirely sure how it fit in with the theme of success, but it's just kind of like the story that it told is very simple lines, not trying to do anything too complicated, but he does use that occasion kind of like, I don't know what they kind of inky wash to kind of like color the kind of black and white characters in as well.
I liked that story a lot too. I wasn't really feeling it any specific way up until I liked the ending, the structure of the ending. So that last panel, he asked her to go check for Rufus the teddy bear, and there's that last panel with his mouth hanging open. So I'm assuming he got it. I hope, So
yes,
I thought maybe that's what the success was.
made I read that completely differently. I read that as, oh dear, this weirdo has just come into the shop asking me for something that's not there, and she's run into the back. So maybe, I don't know, and he's kind of like, yeah, I don't know. We'll have to maybe
Hopefully not.
yeah, maybe get him on board to.
Yeah.
Oh, I say him. I don't know if it's a him or a her. Anyway,
Yeah, I'm not sure, but I quite liked that one.
so yeah. So do you have another one to pick from
I
Success?
think I have one more. So I'm not sure I fully understood this one. I thought it was funny, but I'm not sure why I thought it was funny. His Dreadful Designs by Nick Bryan and Ben Nunn.
Okay,
Uh,
is
yep. So
that
Nick
the
Bryan wrote it.
supervillain architect
Yes,
one? Yes,
yes.
yeah,
So basically, it's just like this godlike hero who has a friend that's an architect, and he lets him build his secret lair, or hero or villain.
yes,
And basically, the guy builds a giant middle finger fist at the Earth on the moon, looking down to the Earth. And the guy kind of just was like, "Yeah, man, not my taste. You can hang out here though," and then teleports back to the Earth and leaves the guy on the moon. I think I didn't know exactly what the punchline was, but it felt like, yeah, you're kind of a dick. You deserve this. This is for you. You built this for yourself, type of
yeah.
deal.
I think that's kind of very much the case. So this is. I'm going to go off a slight tangent. So um, I've been listening. So I've been watching a lot of the Grenfell inquiry that's going on. So the Grenfell inquiry, for listeners that don't know, is about the Grenfell fire that happened 3 years ago, and a lot of people died in that fire. And what's come across is that the construction industry in this country is basically filled with, well, seemingly filled with people that trying to pass the buck onto each other, and kind of are architects that aren't really taking the end inhabitants' best interests into
Ah,
account. So I'm not too sure that the creators of this comic had this in mind. I think it was just kind of maybe uh, a parody on how when you employ someone to construct something, that they're not necessarily listening to what you actually need them to do, and kind of they've got their own preconceived ideas. So I think that's what the comic was about. So I really, yeah, that it's a very solid um comic with like great artwork as well.
mm-hmm.
Kind of like, I like the way they kind of experimented with different colors for the kind of showing the passage of time as well.
Yeah, I quite like the very colorful title page, the splash page at the beginning. That's what kind of hooked me, because you don't see in an anthology like this. The colors tend to be pretty like indie,
Yeah.
with different type of mediums, but that one is kind of conventional, so it stuck out. Um,
Yes.
do you
And
want to switch over to Failure
yes,
or?
there's just one other comic that I want to mention really quickly, just because you mentioned colors. It was Ed Firth's comic. I don't think it's titled, but he does a really kind of that fantastic job of again using colors, throughout the comic. Kind of, it's kind of, I don't know if it's neon colors. It's about the guy that's late night on the bus. I just felt
Oh
his
yeah,
use of colors was absolutely um, fabulous. I really kind of, just aesthetically looking at it, is it's just a really pretty comic to look at. So I really enjoyed the way he used kind of he starts off purples and pinks, and then goes through to
yeah.
reds and pinks and greens. So yeah, I really liked that his use of colors in that one as well.
I
So
actually that's the I didn't have a lot to say about the story in that one, but yeah, the colors are like the neon pastel. Those
yes,
are
yes, yeah,
gorgeous. Yeah,
yeah,
and they kind of go over everything.
yeah. So yeah, we can move on to failure now. So do you want to kick off with your first choice? Let me just bring it up on my
Yeah, I'm
iPad.
also bringing it up.
Yeah.
It's taken a minute here. I know I have a couple. If it'll load. God, come on. All right, let me just find it. Luckily, I can cut this. There it is. So my favorite for this one would be Lupulangelo, by Rachel Tubb. This is essentially
Ah, yeah, yeah.
a a world of anthropomorphic animals. It looks like, and there is a dog who is doing the whole Icarus thing, which they even talk about in the comic, where he wants to fly up and get the moon. Um, so he builds these wings, and he I loved this line. He says, Icarus they taunted, but Icarus didn't have articulated cutting edge metal suspension with a sophisticated leather membrane. And
Yeah,
that made me laugh my ass
yeah,
off.
yeah,
I really like the art and the colors in this one, and I kind of just like the comedic tone. So with both these anthologies, I normally I'm not a big sucker for comedy comics. They're actually
yeah,
really hard to do. But whenever I would find them in these anthologies, it kind of felt like a breath of fresh air because some of the stuff was so heavy. It was good, but it was pretty heavy. So when I found that, I kind of clung to that. So that's the same with this one. I really like the just the uplifting tone of it. The cartooning and the colors are magnificent. I really like Rachel Tubbs' art a lot.
yeah. I think it was really well scripted. It kind of really quickly establishes the world in which the story's taking place really quickly, so you kind of understand. All right, this is where we are, and to do that with just within the first page is such a yeah, it takes a lot of skill. We've kind of reviewed comics before on this podcast where they take 2 or 3 pages to establish what the world is and what the rules of the world are, and there's
Mhm.
like boxes of like text, but she manages to do that just with a few panels and a few words, and you kind of understand who the characters are, the world which it's taking place. So I really, yeah, I like you. I think that was that was one of my favorites in the anthology as well. My next one is I think the first story in the anthology by no, yeah, by Howard Bird, and it's Tea and Sympathy, and it's just a story about a girl kind of failing her exams, and yeah, I did not get good GCSE results, so I kind of fully understand where this girl's coming from, and this this feeling that it's kind of the end of the world, and one of my favorite podcasts is Kermode and Mayo's film review, and one of the things they constantly say in that, if it's not okay, it's not the end. So, like, you might think it's the end of the world because this thing has happened, but if it's not okay now, it will eventually be okay. So, I really, I enjoyed that kind of like uplifting message, even in kind of like a tough time that I think a lot of teenagers in this country are going through at the moment. Yeah, so I quite
Yeah,
enjoyed that. Yeah,
I really like that story. I didn't get the best. I don't know if a lot of people didn't get the best grades in high school and stuff like that. So especially the dialogue, which you said it doesn't matter. Really,
yeah,
I identify with that because for most people, your high school grades don't matter
yeah,
in the long term. And also, the art was just really endearing. It felt really personal.
yes,
It was broken up into these crazy grids, which I really liked the construction of
yeah,
those grids.
yeah. The
Um,
panel layout here was really good. You can kind of get the idea that she's yeah, yeah. It's just yeah, it's just really well done. What's your next pick?
I think my next one is going based on I think the art. Did it have a title? I don't see a title. I wouldn't know how to say that anyway. Patrick and Ryan O'Reilly's story,
Oh yes, the one about the
The
village.
Dam.
Yeah, the village. Yeah, that was sunk underwater. It was yeah, yeah,
I just really liked the art in that. I thought it was a little different from the stuff we'd seen. The story was pretty sweet. Also, kind of a young man helping an older woman to like. She was kind of regretting this thing, and he was saying that she succeeded and she did a good job, and where she thought was a failure, there was a success. Which I like that theme, and I thought that the color work was really, really fun on this, and just kind of really pretty landscapes, especially on that panel where the woman goes to see the flooded village, where it's just a lake now with a tower rising out of it. Um,
Yes. Yeah.
I thought it was uplifting and kind of sweet, and the art did not hurt at all. I like the art a lot.
Yeah. So this was, I think, digitally colored, and quite often when things are digitally colored, they can be a little bit flat,
Mm,
and for me, aesthetically, um, unappealing. But the coloring in this is really, really well done. There's kind of, even though it's digitally colored, you can't kind of there's kind of I don't want to say gritty, but there's like a texture
yep.
to all of
Yep.
the images, which I think really help, and they did a really good job of like doing shadows as well. So yeah, and it's just quite a sweet story about loss and remembrance, isn't it? So yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
My next one is um, A Leaky Smile by Matt Barrell. And that is the story about the gentleman who I think is in some sort of communal living, maybe mental health or drug abuse or alcohol recovery unit. And I just felt it's kind of like quite sweet and quite sad and kind of like bitterly funny as well, because we've all kind of not been in this sort of situation, but you kind of get your hopes up about when you meet someone new and you kind of think maybe not, could there be something going here, and then it turns out you know to be a certain way that so I really kind of I kind of enjoyed that. The the artwork is fine. It's kind of very basic artwork, but I did enjoy his choice of the tones of the colors that he used as well.
Yeah, those purples. Yeah. I
Yeah,
really like that story too. It was pretty bittersweet.
yeah,
Um, uh, I think I didn't. Yeah, I couldn't decide where they were living at. So you think it's like some type of thing where they're not allowed to leave, essentially. So
yeah. I
like,
think so. It's to me. I think it because it said Alexandra Ward, so I think it must be some sort of
uh,
hospital somewhere. So that's kind of down. I think Downhalls is a mental hospital somewhere in London as well. So
okay,
yeah. So that's
that makes more sense.
yeah. What's your
Um,
next one?
I think I will have to go with. Is it Willy the Witch? Which seems like an
Yeah,
odd
that is
name.
going to be my next one as well. Yeah, so you
Okay.
go ahead.
So Bruno Stead, I think his name
Yeah.
is. It's basically this. It's a story of a witch who is pretty much looking for Tinder dates on a crystal ball, swiping left to right.
It is such a great idea.
It
It's
is amazing,
fantastic. It's a fantastic idea. So yeah,
and she goes through Frankenstein's monster first, too dumb, Dracula too old, the Mummy just yek
yeah,
twice,
yeah.
uh, and she lands on this charming prince. What do you think? Read the prince's bio. I like dragon slaying, rescuing princess, and dressing up as a want to hook up. What? I didn't. I couldn't figure out what he likes to dress
Oh,
up as, but we'll leave that open to
oh
anyone that
yeah,
wants.
yeah,
The style though is really cool. It's basically just pencil or maybe ballpoint pen. It's just
yeah,
black and white. Um, I would think it would have to be pen, but it's just black and white, really raw, kind of scratchy, but pretty detailed when he wants it to be. And it was a really funny story. In the end, she kisses the Prince Charming, and he turns into a frog, and she puts him in a case with three or four other Prince Charmings that have become frogs.
yeah,
Um, and yeah, I thought it was pretty funny. Um, maybe not the deepest of all of them, but it had some really fun artwork and made me laugh a lot. So.
yeah, yeah. It made me giggle a lot. It kind of reminded me a little bit of like Kate Beaton's work from Harker Vagrant, where it's kind of
Mm.
kind of that sort of kind of the humor and the artwork as well. And it's always kind of really funny when you see. I don't know why it's funny to me, but I always find it quite funny when you see a really thirsty woman kind of like desperately chasing a man. I always find that quite humorous for whatever reason. So I think my last choice is Lara Cunningham's one, and um that is the one about Pfizer.
Yes, I love
So
that.
yeah, so that the artwork isn't anything special to kind of like talk about. It's really, I don't want to say perfunctory because um that's a little bit more derogatory than I intend, but it's like it's not got the best artwork, but the actual writing is fabulous. It's a really interesting story, a non-fiction story about why um how women aren't treated equally by medical research, and how men's problems are always kind of put to the forefront, and um why it's just a really interesting kind of exploration about the history of Viagra, basically, and why PMS isn't, why why they haven't kind of like discovered or aren't bothered to do research into an effective treatment for PMS as
I did
well. So
not
yeah,
know that Pfizer essentially created Viagra, which is
yeah,
a little weird because they're obviously in the news lately for helping make the vaccine and
yeah,
stuff. Um, yeah, that really was interesting to me because I know that like that kind of drug is like a racket like right now, like one of the most abused drugs in America and probably the world. So like, and the fact that it could have been able to help with women with period pain, but they just didn't pursue that because who needs it, was
yeah,
kind of a shot to the gut. So yeah, that the art is a little bit it's kind of just like accents to the words. It's more
yes,
about the
yeah,
words.
yeah. I'd agree with
Um,
that. It's
but
fine. She,
yeah,
she adequately um draws penises, and that was a bit of a shock when I was reading. So, oh, okay, unexpected penis there. Um,
yeah.
but, it kind of like there's a lot of humor in kind of the way she draws faces, um, as well. But yeah, it's just a really fascinating look at why um, women have got a lot of reasons to be pissed off with medical research and kind of like the industrial pharmaceutical industry as well.
Yeah, and there was it kind of was funny at times too, I would
Yeah, it's
say.
very is I really do. So one of my favorite podcasts is The Dollop, and they quite often look at stories like this about how uh companies don't necessarily do the best thing for like the world at large. So I think there's I really enjoyed it. I think it is well it's always nice when you read something and you learn something new about the world as well. So yeah, I think it is it's one of the stronger stories in both anthologies actually,
Yeah, this made me maybe get on the internet and start looking stuff up
which
about
is always a
like
good sign. Which is always a
yeah.
good sign.
All right, well I think that's three apiece, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that's three apiece. I think we had some crossover with both of our choices. So, what did you think overall of both anthologies? Which one was your favorite?
I think I would have to go with success. I mean, I probably knew that going in. I like to look on the bright side of things a little more, but I was happy to see that because I read failure first. Because I was like, if I'm going to get down, I would rather have success to read
Yeah,
after.
yeah, yeah,
But failure did have a lot of like heartwarming things. So there was a lot of silver lining type themes in the failure anthology. But I think success just had a higher hit rate with me. I really liked the one I didn't talk about was Hop. I'd have to see who drew that, but there was a lot of really good stories that we didn't even touch on in here. So
yes, there were, and I think we do need to kind of mention as well is that there are a mixture of where you can so close to professional level um, artwork and storytelling in here, mixed in with people that are just kind of discovering their voices and discovering how to illustrate and how to write for comics. That was also quite intriguing to me to see that to see both those type of works kind of alongside each other in an anthology like this. And I think it's, you know, WIP, I think it's, they do a lot of good work to help people progress themselves as creators. So yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was a really awesome book to read. You're right. The variety of both time in the industry and just like their styles has made it really, really fun to read. You never really got tired of anything because it was all different. I'm really glad that indie creators can have a place where they can just submit short stories like this. So
Yes.
WIP is doing a great thing there. I would recommend you guys check this out. I don't know what the cost of it is.
Yeah, so if you go to, let me just find their website. We'll put the details in the podcast description. If you go to wipcomics.co.uk, you can buy both digital and print copies of both the anthologies from that website. The Success and Failure physical bundle, they've got 13 copies left of that, and that will cost you £12. That's I think that's pretty much a bargain, really, for you know, two anthologies of this quality. And then they've also got digital versions available as well. So yeah, I think that was really really enjoyable. It's a quick read. I mean, I think I read both the anthologies in like maybe an hour. So I think it's like I read both of them. I think both of them each maybe took me 35 minutes, 40 minutes each. But yeah, it's a really quick, swift read. Some of them, yeah, are thought provoking. Any final thoughts?
I don't think I have any final thoughts. I would say I really, really think you guys should check this out, at least digitally. It'd be a really good support. Obviously, they're not like giving us anything. I just really like this anthology, and it's really cool. So if anyone wants to support that, I'll probably be buying the digital just because I got it for free, and I'd like to support WIP. So check that out. I'll put the link in it. I really recommend it. It's really cool. And now, have they been doing these for a couple of years, or is this?
Yeah, so the WIP have been around. So I've been aware of them for at least 7 years. So they used to be like they are a physical meetup group. So they're a group on meetup.com, and they've been producing anthologies on and off for quite a long time. I think they've got if you go to the website, they've got all their anthologies available, I think, on there, at least in a digital version in any case. So yeah, and a few of their other creators that feature in the group have got their work on there as well.
So do what I'm about to do and just go flip through those and look at some stuff that looks interesting and check out a couple digital anthologies, because it seems like a really good cause to me, and it's really cool to see some non-professional work. Makes it a lot more personal, you know.
Yeah, I think that's really true, especially like some of the most fascinating work can come from people that are just emerging with their voices, and I think there's a few creators in both these anthologies who fit into that category
Definitely
as well. So I think that's it, really. So that's a firm recommendation from me as well.
Oh yeah. All right, well, I think that's about it. Next week, I'm going to pick something. I'm thinking if we could do something a little bit more mainstream, just because it's kind of in the holiday season. But
yes,
it's going to be after Christmas. I'd like to read Klaus by Grant Morrison. Have you read that at all?
Not even heard of it.
It is a really beautiful, with art by Dan Mora, retelling of the story of Santa Claus, like more like a fantasy epic type of deal. It's really heady, obviously, because it's Grant Morrison. So I think that'll be pretty fun.
Okay, yeah. So that sounds good to me. Yeah, so I think that's it, really. Thanks for listening, guys. Have a Merry Christmas and a fantastic New Year.
All right, happy holidays, guys. Thanks for listening.
Thanks, bye.